Hi, everyone. I am here today with a special surprise. So you notice it's not Monday, but here I am doing Motivational Monday. And the reason I'm doing this is the surprise I was talking about last week. The surprise is that Motivational Monday is on a Sunday this week because our special guest is actually Monday for her. So welcome to Motivational Monday. And our guest today is the one and only Sandy Davies, who is the founder, the CEO, the everything of HappyPause. So Sandy, welcome to our Facebook group. And I'm going to let you explain what your product is because it's amazing. And we'll go there now.
All right. Oh, awesome. Well, good day, Sally, and good day, everybody. Yes, it is actually Monday here. So I don't know if everyone can see that or not. It's one of my favorite Charles Schultz sayings from many, many, many years ago that a friend sent me not long after I immigrated to Australia. So if anyone's having a little bit of worry or fretting about anything, don't worry, because it's already tomorrow over here.
I love it. I can read it. Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah. I just love that. Don't worry about the world coming to an end today. It's already tomorrow in Australia.
I love it. I love it because it was hard enough for me to coordinate talking to you, figuring out what date it was that we were actually, because it's March for you and it's February for me, right?
Oh, yeah, we're still, I'm in the new month. Oops.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Sally. I just lost my my feed. There we go. I got a bit too excited.
That dual month thing was like too much for you, huh?
Yeah.
So tell us, what is it that your product? I love it. I'm wearing it right now. So tell us what it is.
Well, and I'm so glad that you're wearing it right now because it's daytime. And one of my big things with vaginal dryness is it's not just about intimacy. It is about all the time. And it's about feeling good down there to feel good everywhere all the time. And we need to moisturize our bits. I think just like we moisturize our face or any facial care things that we do. But what I've done is I created HappyPause Balm. So it is just a natural balm. And it is preservative free. It's vegan certified. It has no nasties. And what it does is if we have very sensitive skin, it eases the process of having moisture in our vulval vaginal area.
That's so great. And I want to clear one thing up because, and you're the one to ask. I have your product. I love it. And like I said, I'm wearing it right now. I tell my friends about this and they always say, oh, you mean like for sex? And it's not.
Yes.
Yes. Can you go there?
Yes. And, that is one of the biggest struggles I find is that everyone, anything to do with menopause and then anything to do with anything vulval, vaginal, intimate, people always just back away and people are really defensive. Oh, I'm fine down there. Or, oh, I'm fine with all of that, meaning sex. And it is not just about sex. It can work as an intimate lubricant for that purpose. But more than that, vaginal dryness is about, sometimes you can even just have your skin rubbing together day to day. Sometimes you don't even realize that you have a dryness issue and then you moisturize and all of a sudden you're feeling better all over because you have less irritation that you didn't even realize was part of the whole overall irritation of menopause.
Yes. Yes. This is so good. And I'm like you might notice, I'm stumbling over my words because this is hard stuff to talk about. And so I needed to have you on here to hold my hand and kind of fill in the blanks when I'm about to say like vagina. So, so I want, can you tell us a little bit about how this all started? But wait, before you do, I wanted to tell the group, I've been talking lately about how I'm kind of shifting gears and I'm starting this Varsity Midlife Pivot and I'm bringing women on to the Facebook group to talk about what kind of Varsity Midlife Pivot that they have done and whether it's great or small. I think it's so interesting and valuable to all of us. So I invited Sandy to come on here because I want her to tell us about her Varsity Midlife Pivot. So can you tell us how this all started? Why did you decide you needed to create this product?
Well, it actually started from a horrific allergic reaction. I'd been having a little bit of, in perimenopause, I'd been having a growing bit of dryness, but I found that there wasn't really a lot of information out there to sort of tell you what it was or what the cause was. Like we have an abundance of information now, but back then I was struggling. I kept telling my doctor when I go for regular checkups, my periods are so much heavier. I'm struggling to find the right brand of tampon because they feel a little bit uncomfortable, but my periods are so heavy that I have to use them more. And I just kind of got a little bit of a patronizing, it's just perimenopause and not really any practical solutions. And I ended up at my chemist or pharmacist, Long's Drugs, Walgreens, yep. So what do we call them in North America? So I ended up at the pharmacist, and they were very empathetic and gave me these vaginal pessaries and assured me that I would just be back to my normal self and just be wonderful. They took 5 days to dissolve internally. But within about 2 hours, I realized my skin was way too sensitive for the chemicals that were in the pessary. And they ended up being very difficult to remove. And I wanted to flay my skin with clamshells. And I started looking around and discovered there was nothing natural. And then I did begin to find there is a natural product that is quite prevalent in Europe. I found one that was hemp-based, one that was bee-based, but they still had quite a lot of preservatives, and they were gooey and icky, just like the pessary. So with pessaries or any of those creams, they kind of, I don't know, they will come out in chunks and goops as they exit your body. And you just don't, it's gross. And it takes away from you feeling like a woman. And then if you have to wear a panty liner with any of those moisturizers or gels, again, you just oozing and you don't feel womanly and you don't feel like your natural self, and you're struggling enough to glow without more barriers. And so I started down the journey of trying to find something that still let us feel like our natural selves. And that's why I love the balm so much, because it's not gluggy, it doesn't ooze out, you don't need a panty liner, but you feel great from the very first application.
Whoa, so let me get this straight. The thing you needed didn't exist, so you just invented it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I guess, yeah, when you think about it, yeah, I couldn't find what I needed, so I had to make it work.
Wow, that's just incredible. And this group, I'm not sure how much you know about this specific Facebook group, but we love supporting each other, and we love talking about things that are scary, things that why are my words not coming out? Anxiety, confidence, things like that. So how did you have the confidence to do something like that? Have you just always been confident all your life, or what?
Well, funnily enough, maybe I always have and just didn't really know it or acknowledge it or embrace it. My year of being 13 was absolutely miserable. I was physically bullied for almost the entire school year. I had bruises from my knees down for the entire school year. And I had quite a lot of teachers and a coach and a principal that didn't intervene. Wow. So I had to find my own strength. I don't know, it beats you down, and then something inside just helps you well up and find that ability to soar above it, I suppose. And luckily I did later on have a varsity coach from the little small town group. The varsity coach at the high school heard about it and found out about it, and something that you couldn't do these days, but he actually swapped for a term with a middle school teacher and sent the middle school teacher to the high school. And he came into our junior high and sorted out the little bullying gang because no one else had been willing to do it.
Oh, wow.
So I guess from him, I always now feel like, you've got to be strong and have a voice, because there has to be someone that will have a voice and stand up, sort of thing. Yeah. And that was where I guess I found that confidence jam, I suppose, but I was never really conscious of that, I suppose, through life. But yeah, there was nothing out there. And I needed to fix it initially for myself. So I guess it kind of evolved as something that was maybe selfish, because I was struggling and I wasn't finding any answers. So I started researching and trying multiple things. And then I hit a home run and just nailed it. Oh, my gorgeous dog Karma is coming in to have a bit of a cuddle. So if you see a white fluffy tail.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you've got a beautiful dog. I can't remember. Is it a
he's
lab?
He's a Vizsla.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
oh, gorgeous.
But yeah, no worries. Dogs are allowed on these. For sure.
Oops.
But so basically, there he is. So basically, I think probably it seems like because you were so passionate about it, it just kind of happened. You didn't even think about being confident. It doesn't sound like you just this.
Well, yeah, it happened. And then because it was so effective and so simple, and just the fact that when I started to realize I don't have to have a panty liner, I don't have any ooey gluggy cream or anything as a side effect with this. Other women need to have this too. And then I started to realize, I actually discovered a book written by a British author called Me and My Menopausal Vagina after I had created the balm. And this is actually a thing with so many of us. And I've discovered now that there was Harvard research that said maybe 20% of us from peri onward suffered from dryness, intimate dryness. But now there's a study out of Italy saying it could be as many as 70% of us. But it's just that we don't identify with it unless it's so severe that we're having trouble with our skin sticking together.
Yeah. And that's a whole thing too. That can happen too. I know that, but yeah, that's just incredible. And I think it's so important for as women, I thought when I got to be this age that I would just be like, well, we don't need to deal with that anymore. Let's just lock that down, we're not going to deal with that anymore. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. And so I just love that you did this, and I love the product. And I of course I want to promote your product, but I also just wanted to get to know you and let other women in this group get to know you and know how important it is to follow your passions. When you feel strongly about something, that's just so important. Yeah. Now, you had some other stuff. Go ahead. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, absolutely. You've always got to follow your passion, whatever it is. And even just from I appreciate you being so keen to promote HappyPause and talk about it as a product. But for me, the biggest thing is we all have such a unique journey that it's not going to be a one size fits all. And I'm really passionate about more and more women discovering HappyPause as an option for moisturizer. And like I said to you, I think we should maybe make it a part of our daily routine. But it works hand in hand if we are going down the vaginal estrogen path as well, because it just complements and adds more moisturizer to that routine. But sometimes we don't even need perhaps this. We just need to find whatever it is that gives us that wow to get through menopause, because we all have different things that are flaring up, and they can be I like all of your healthy eating tips as well as the meditation tips, because we all have to find a different way to get through.
And I think we'll talk about that later. But we'll wait. We'll let them warm up a little bit. We had some other things on your agenda. Well, first of all, let's talk about, you also said women who have had chemotherapy, this is good for them as well, right?
Yes. I'm finding women who, in particular, a lot of breast cancer survivors are turning to HappyPause and finding it a very essential part of their daily and nightly routine. But also when you're going through radiation as well, because you just add that to all the other menopausal things that we're going through, and all of a sudden your body, you do have a lot of trouble with vaginal dryness as you go through radiation quite often. So yeah, it's amazing something that I created out of a sense of desperation has cast such a wide net now. They also have a lot of women with type 1 diabetes that find that it gives them a lot of comfort when their sugar starts to spike. And a lot of that younger generation below us, a lot of gals with endometriosis are using it the week after their cycle.
Wow.
So who knew? Yeah.
I know, that's just such an exciting story and really inspiring. Now I know you'd think that Sandy and I were just saying that we feel like we're old college friends, and we really have never, this is the first time we've ever spoken to each other on a Zoom call. But so, Sandy, I know this about you. You have a lot, your brain is always going, and you've got a little bit of an agenda for us today too, right? So what is it that you wanted to talk about? Take over the mic.
Well, a couple of things. Probably the biggest one is I found that when I was really struggling through peri and trying to figure out and gain a bit of knowledge, in addition to now there's Facebook support groups, and we all have a wealth of information that we can share with one another. But I've got a favorite book from when I first started that's actually the Haines Manual to Menopause. So like a workshop manual for a car. And it was written by Louise Newsome, who is a British gynecologist. And I love this for anyone in the group that's got any family that are maybe struggling and trying to figure it out, or not quite knowing how to offer support to you. It is amazing, whether it's your teenage son, whether it's a partner, a brother, a sister, anyone. I just find it's great reading from like a dragnet perspective. It's just the facts, ma'am.
And then your family could have an intervention on you.
Yes. Although sometimes I think it's not always an intervention that we want, because if we're having a menopausal meltdown, we don't want a home truth from anyone we love.
No, but nobody wants an intervention, really. When you So anyways, yeah, great idea. I love that. What else have you got?
Well, but the thing so I loved that I had found that for just sort of factual resources. And then along came you, who by the end of COVID, you had published your books. And damn it, it is menopause. And that's the worst reality when it hits you, I think, that it is menopause. So one of my little secret silly agendas is I would like to know your 3 favorite entries. And I know that it might be fluid and they might change from day to day. So today, where you find yourself on the planet today, what are your 3 favorite entries?
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I like the one, I don't even know if I can think of them. I think I like the one about kicking the dog food bowl, because that was early on before I really realized I was menopausal. And I don't really feel that I'm an extra angry person. I mean, I definitely do get angry, and, like any other person and any other redhead, but I was really, the way I kicked that dog bowl was really hard. And there were other family members present who saw me do that. And so I think that's when they needed that Haines book to do an intervention on. But so that was like a shift for me, because I really realized like something's really wrong here. When if I'm that mad, why would I need to kick the dog food bowl across the kitchen floor? Just a big drastic departure from my normal character, my normal personality. But then besides that, I think, and this is, I don't know if this is really representative of the book, but that would be one thing. And then the other 2 would, one of them would be about my enhanced social justice awareness. And that's in the second book. And I have several entries in there about that. And I don't claim to be an expert, but I really feel like so excited about the things I'm learning about social justice and how I can contribute to that. So that's another favorite. That's several entries in the second book.
I loved that section. And you're so brave to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I've kind of always been one that, like, when I grew up, it was like, why don't people talk about this stuff, Mom? Like anything. I'd be like, my mom would be so busy saying, don't talk about that. Like, you know what, she'd tell me something and then she'd say, but we don't talk about that outside this home. And then I'd be like, well, why? And then I wrote a book on menopause, you know, so I'll show you, Mom. But, but anyway, so I think, I've always just been one to talk about, I think stuff needs to be talked about. And so that's kind of, that's only 2 entries, but I'm trying to, oh my gosh, I wish I had some time to prep for that.
I am.
Were there any that you liked?
Well, I was thinking, for your third one, I've got, actually, you'll actually think it's quite funny. One of my favorite ones is actually marked with a little sticky note that's actually a piece of pepperoni pizza.
Oh, nice. I love food things.
I think probably, well, the thing with your books is it doesn't matter. You can just open to any page and relate. And that's the reason why I think your books are so powerful, because it's like having someone along. You're not doing the journey on your own.
Oh, good. That's what I want.
But probably my favorite was, you did an entry. It was entry number 114 in volume 1, where you just say, you just want to call the whole thing off. You know, just forget menopause. I'm just going to go in denial and it's not happening. And I love that, because we all have days like that where we just want to bury our head in the sand and just get off the roller coaster.
Yeah, for sure. I do. And I think that's why I have to remember that's why I made up this whole thing, the acronym about the self-care pies, because I have to do self-care daily in order to keep that momentum going and not just like stay in bed in my pajamas for the whole day. Although sometimes I do that, but you know, just but to keep moving, keep going forward, and keep realizing there's a reason that I'm here on the planet, and I need to make a contribution to the world. And that's what I feel it is now. And I'm more clear on that than ever before, which is to help other women feel confident and step into the shoes they're supposed to be wearing to live this life, you know? So, yeah. So thanks for asking that.
And I suppose one of the other things I wanted to share just from a personal perspective, because it's, you know, all about doing this midlife varsity pivot. And I found that for me, I guess some of the just leaping out and doing something that no one else was doing and creating and formulating something from scratch at 50.
Yes, that's varsity.
But it kind of came natural to me, because I sort of got my varsity mindset from my mom. And this is actually a little miniature urn with some of the remains of my mom that I always have with me on my desk, or if I'm traveling, when I'm at home, it sits in my jewelry box and I can say good day and just uplift that memory of her amazing strength and power. Because when my mom hit 50, she was a 1950s housewife. She married the boy that came home from the war. She did everything a good girl was supposed to do in that era. She'd actually turned down in her young life a full ride music scholarship to college, because her Protestant parents told her that good girls don't go to college, especially if a boy has come home from the war and wants your hand. Wow. So she had, you know, done this good girl life and lived the good girl housewife life and raised her children. And at 50, her life got turned on its head. And she had to, in a nanosecond, figure out how to provide for her teenage daughter, who was still at home, and keep her family afloat. And she did it with such aplomb and passion and dedication and hard work, and became a glass ceiling breaker in an industry in Kansas where there were only 2 other women in the entire state in her industry. Whoa. And then she just, once she exploded through that glass ceiling, she was so amazing in the way she stuck her hand down and pulled other women up and just kept saying, we need more in the boat. And she just always gave me so much inspiration just with her. She didn't even see it as courage or strength or doing something out of the ordinary. She just got thrown in and said, okay, I'll figure out how to swim. And she did, and swam like an Olympic athlete.
Wow. It sounds like it did. Yeah.
So it's just that thing, that lovely reminder that it doesn't matter what era we're in, whether we're perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, whatever it is, we can do it. And it's all we have to do is just take that first step.
Yes. Yes. That's so true. And I know I have my memory of my dad here that I've shared a little bit about before. This has some of my dad's ashes incorporated into the blown glass. And so it's also kind of a paperweight, and it has something inscribed on the back that I got to pick that is like a little joke. In our family, we love to watch the TV show Get Smart, which is a comedy, a sitcom in the 70s. And so it says Get Smart on the back because that reminds me of our family sitting together and watching that in the 70s. So anyway, but it is a really special thing to have a memory like that to help encourage us and remind us what our parents did. And, so I love your little urn. That's really nice.
Yeah. Well, and I guess part of the reason why I wanted to even sort of talk about that today as well is because when we lost my mom lived with us. We cared for her for the last 14 years of her life. And when she actually passed, it was quite sudden and we weren't prepared or ready, which it was fortunate in many ways because she passed without any suffering because it was so sudden. But we were absolutely unprepared. And what I've found that our daughters just roll their eyes and laugh, but in the same breath, they are so pleased and happy. I actually got everyone in our family to pick the pattern of little urn or jewelry amulet or Christmas tree ornament. And I ordered everything in advance now for everyone in our family for when my husband and I pass. And I'm not trying to be morbid and say, oh, I think we're going to die. That's not it. But our girls just love that we actually did the pre-planning now. And that way, if something happens and they are unprepared, it's just there and ready. And that to me is one of those things that when we start to do that midlife pivot, I think sometimes anything we can do to just do that, preparing in advance and creating a path to peace for anyone that we leave behind, it's kind of groovy. And my kids actually, I know I don't mean to sound morbid. That does sound morbid, doesn't it?
I'm laughing at groovy. I think it's great. No, that's totally great. You're like a planner par excellence there. That's amazing. Good job.
But I think it's just that thing of anything that eases the path or a journey, kind of the same as creating the HappyPause. Anything that can ease the journey, whether it's the journey of dryness or loss, whatever, anything that eases it just makes everything so much simpler and better. And
yeah, I love how you brought that around too. That's excellent. I'm ready to say it now. I wanted to talk about the HappyPause because what I've noticed about it is, well, you do have an applicator that comes with it, right? But you don't have to use the applicator. You can actually just apply it with your finger. And so everyone, I wanted to say this right in the group. I asked Sandy this because I was like, you never mentioned this, but isn't it like, if you have to put this on and you have to touch yourself, isn't that a good thing? Isn't that something that's like a good thing? Hey, haven't thought about that in a while. And so I think that's excellent. Do you have anything to say? Would you like to speak on that?
Well, I absolutely loved that you said the other M word out loud. Not just menopause, but we're going to talk about the other word as well. And I think that for a lot of us, we actually go through a phase during our menopause journey of a really, really reduced libido.
Right.
And I think working through that can sometimes be a little bit confronting and difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So any opportunity we have to sort of revisit self-pleasure and feeling good.
Oh, sorry. Did I just do that out loud?
You did. And that's awesome, because that's, and you find that so many of the really proactive medical professionals will tell you, use it or lose it. And, right. And that we really do need to continue to explore things like self-pleasure. And it's just one of those things then that, and apparently I have it on very firm authority from multiple sources. Anyone that's out there struggling with no libido right now, it comes back.
Yes. Yeah. And I would say that could be just part, kind of like doing your homework. Like, okay, that's your homework. If you're in a part of a couple, you would need to do your homework, because you need to know what you're dealing with, so it's there you go.
And absolutely don't get caught up with sometimes our generation will suffer with a little bit of guilt or a bit of stigma. We should never feel bad about making ourselves feel good.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes. Great. Well, we've covered quite a bit of ground here today, Sandy. I'm so pleased.
Have we ever?
Do you have anything else on your agenda for us today?
Well, the only other thing that might be on my agenda that we hadn't actually talked about, I suppose, is sometimes, like, it's such a long journey. Like, you've even found with your book's journey over a decade of that whole transition from perimenopause through menopause to postmenopause. Mm-hmm. And I had an experience that I blamed on menopause. I was in a work environment with a bully, and she was very vicious to some of the younger girls, and she'd sort of pick her victim with new staff and see who she thought could sort of, who she could manipulate and control and bully the most. And I found myself a bit of a mentor to the girls. And it was one of those, I guess, narcissist sort of situations where you couldn't remove bully. So you had to find ways to work around the bully and promote yourself out of that environment for the younger gals. And I was struggling so bad. I couldn't get a full night's sleep. I was having so many menopausal symptoms, I thought. And I was just looking at all of the issues I was having as menopause. And then in the middle of COVID in Australia, we've been fortunate. We've had a program called JobKeeper. So it provided you an income supplement. Okay. So in the middle of COVID, I actually gave up that JobKeeper supplement and walked away from that job because of how much more the bullying had escalated. Mm-hmm. So how dumb am I? I gave up a reliable income out of principle. But the thing that happened for me is 2 days within walking away from that environment, I was sleeping like a baby. I wasn't having all the disruptions to my sleep cycle that I had been blaming on menopause.
Oh, wow.
A few of the other stress symptoms had begun to disappear. And I realized that, unfortunately, I had been giving menopause the blame. So not being as proactive at finding a solution as I should have been. So sometimes if you're out there really struggling through something, pull back and set menopause aside and make sure that there aren't other triggers as well. Because sometimes I think if we blame menopause for it, we can just stay in the cycle when...
Problem. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point. That's a really good point, especially for this group, because this group kind of spun off from another group, and we really didn't want our emphasis to be on menopausal symptoms. We wanted it to be on building confidence and reducing anxiety. So you're right on the money with that story, Sandy. I don't think you probably even do that, but
no. Yeah. And yeah, so absolutely. And sometimes that And I find too, if we're already a little bit prone to anxiety, our anxiety will heighten and we'll toss and turn and we'll wake up at 2 a.m. and not go back to sleep at all and think that it's a menopause contributor.
Right.
And sometimes it's not necessarily menopause. It's just all that bleh outside. Yeah.
Yes, I know that definition. Bleh. Yeah, no, those are really great points. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's just really good to talk about that. And it's just so great to have a place to talk about that. I'm so happy to be able to talk to you and get to know you a little. And I have, really the pandemic to thank for that, I think, if you're thinking about a silver lining. And I don't think I would have had the nerve to even finish and publish my book if it weren't for the pandemic, because that's where I really, my job changed. And I had to say to myself, okay, now or never. Now's the time you're going to do that, and now's the time you're going to start coaching virtually. And whereas I was only coaching in person before. So scaling and doing all these things that I'm like, no, I can't, I'm not ready yet. I'm not perfect enough. I'm not, what fill in the blank. And so it's just really uplifting to talk to you and talk about all these things. Do you have any other pearls for us today?
No, I'm in that same place of gratitude for the pandemic, I suppose, because, it brought your book, not just to America, but across the globe. And it's kind of the same for me, because with HappyPause, it was my daughters sort of pushing me during COVID to make it available on a grand scale, because I've always taught them to live life with no regrets. And they called me out and said, Mom, you're being a bit of a hypocrite if you're just keeping this local. If, it really needs to be out there for everyone. You always want to leave a ripple, and you're not rippling with your balm.
Wow. You want that balm to ripple in a big way. For sure. That's so great. I love it. I love kids because of that. That's, they do great things like that. So where can people get, I see right there on your screen behind you, happypause.com.au, right?
Yep.
So that's look you up and find out more about you. And where else can they find you? Anywhere else you want to tell us?
Yes. So probably the easiest go-to for actually acquiring the balm is the website. It is available in a few shops in San Francisco, but I don't actually have an American distribution agent. So if you go to the website and you look, there is actually a special right now, buy 3 for the price of 2. So you can go together with a girlfriend and it will minimize the postage cost. And then you get a chance to actually have a bit of a chat about menopause with a girlfriend too when it arrives, because I'm finding I've got a lot of clients in the UK that are buying together and then going to the pub to share it and distribute it with each other. And they're finding that they absolutely are literally wetting themselves. But just because they're talking about things that, there's M words that we have as taboos. Talking about them makes everything so much easier.
I love that.
Oh, hello, puppy.
And he just perked up there. I love that. Okay, I'm so glad we know where to get in touch with you. And I love the idea of getting it for a friend and giving it to them. I've had people do that with my book as well, where they'll say like, I love it. And now I'm going to get it for some friends of mine. And then they talk about it too. So just sharing the word is such a great thing. So I think I have a couple, just because I'm the moderator of this group. So I have a couple little announcements, if you don't mind, Sandy. And that is that people are starting to do things, and it's really exciting in this group. So I wanted to just remind everyone to check out Melissa. She just opened her boutique called Restyled with Melissa, sustainably sourced. It opens tomorrow. She's in Maine, actually, but you can check her out somehow virtually. And then Elaine as well has just put out her first YouTube exercise video for women over 50, excuse me. And I did it. It's like a 20-minute workout, and it was lovely. And she gives different stares of how difficult you want the exercise to be based on what feels right for you. So that was really cool. then, so of course we know where to reach Sandy. And then my free workshop is this week on March 2nd, 3rd, and then next week on the 10th. And that's going to be on the 5 common mistakes that menopausal women are making that keep them from loving their bodies and how to overcome those mistakes. So for more information on all of that, you can check out, we'll put some things in the comments after we close our meeting today, Sandy, so that for you as well. And I think if you don't, do you have anything else to share today, or you've had some good things you've brought up?
No, just stay safe, stay healthy, and be happy.
Yes. And happy pause. Have a happy pause.
Yes. Have a very happy pause.
Yes. So thank you again so much, Sandy, for coming on. Great to see you. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day, whatever day it is for you, whatever month it is for you. All right.
Thanks heaps, Sally.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.